Tonight from Valencia High School, Foothill League basketball continues Game 2 of the Foothill League season as the Hart Indians, 1-0 in league play, coming into Valencia to take on the 0-1 Valencia Vikings. Hi again, everybody, and welcome to SCVTV's presentation of the Frontier Toyota Basketball Series. I'm Dave Caldwell. Foothill League is incredible this year. The teams are as level as they can possibly be, and this game tonight, the Hart Indians taking on the Valencia Vikings, as my esteemed partner always says, it's basketball, it's football, it could be tiddlywinks, doesn't matter. It's an intense, emotional rivalry every time these two teams face each other. My esteemed partner is Greg Herrick.
Welcome tonight, Dave.
Welcome tonight, Greg Herrick. This is always exciting when the Indians take on the Vikings. The rivalry is huge. Some people say it can't really be a rivalry because they haven't played each other enough. But tell your emotions to turn off when these two teams come together, because it is on when they're on.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you one thing. When I walked into this building tonight through the parking lot, you could cut that tension with a knife. This game is very, very important, especially to the Valencia Vikings, because they don't want to go 0-2 in a league that has a very competitive teams top to bottom. So it's probably more important to the Vikings to prevail here tonight at home.
Let's first talk about the Hart Indians. They did get a big win over Golden Valley in their first game, 72-68. They defeated the Grizzlies, a game they had to come from behind to win. That tells you just how close this league is this year, and specifically Mike Montgomery. He's a senior this year, arguably one of the best players last year, if not the best player last year, Greg Herrick. He comes into the game, he scored 23 points against Golden Valley, averages better than 20 points a game.
Yeah, and he's 6'6" on the roster, but he plays like a 6'8" guy. He's long, he's lean. Like I told you earlier, you don't measure your torso in basketball. It's an arms and legs sport. He's gifted. He's a son of two coaches, not just one. So he's been around the sport his whole life. I think he should have been the most valuable player a year ago. And so he's playing with a little chip on his shoulder this year, and he's been on fire.
Levi Wenrich was not even a starter as a freshman. Now he's the point guard on this basketball team. He averages better than 5 assists, and he's the number 2 scorer on this team. You love good point guards, and Tom Kelly really likes having Levi Wenrich enjoying it or working his backcourt.
Yeah, there's no accident. Every great team has a great point guard, and he's an outstanding point guard. He turns the ball over a little more than you like, but his job is to get the ball in the hands of their scorers, and that's Michael Montgomery.
Now let's turn over to the other side, the Valencia Vikings we talked about. They lost a heartbreaker to Saugus 70-63 in their opener. They were ahead in that game with 3 minutes to play, and then, as Rocket Collins tells us, it fell apart. John Otofka, once again, their leading scorer. This year, not as many points coming into league as he's had in the past, just 12.5 points a game. But still, he is the key outside shooter already this season. 42 three-pointers for John Otofka.
Yeah, and he's an outstanding player. He needs to get a leadership role in this team. He's a senior. I think he's the best squared-up shooter in the league. But he has to understand that to be a good player and a leader, you got to distribute the basketball to other players, and he's done that this year for the Vikings.
So for John Otofka, too, going inside will be Jimmy Boffman. 6'6", 200-pound senior is Jim Boffman. He's a great scorer, 7.5 points a game, but it may be his defensive skills that are setting him apart. Over 3 blocks a game and better than 7.5 rebounds.
Yeah, and he's an excellent shot blocker. He's an excellent free throw shooter. He's only missed 2 free throws all year long, and he's a very heady player, very experienced, and we look to see him in the scoring column tonight.
And you talk about free throw shooters, John Otofka, perfect 19 of 19 so far in this season. Here we go, get ready. SCVTV's presentation of high school basketball is being brought to you by Frontier Toyota, where car buying is fun. Providence Holy Cross Medical Center. Valencia Acura. Marty's Floor Covering. Time Warner Cable. Roger Dunn Golf. And Physicians Care. The Hart Indians taking on the Valencia Vikings. Game 2 of Foothill League play. We'll have a conversation with Rocket Collins when we return on SCVTV. Pre-game still going on here at Valencia High School. We've got Rocket Collins here right next to us here, and We've got a lot of things going on all around us, but Rocket, tell me about your first game against Saugus. Came up a little bit short. Talk a little bit about that.
We played well. We were down 18, came back, had a 2-point lead with 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and just turned the ball over 3 or 4 times. One point guard got in foul trouble. Our starting point guard wasn't there, and we're missing 2 of our top 7 or 6 players. So, but Saugus is good, and they ran their stuff and did the right thing. They outcompeted us in the last 3 minutes.
Rocket, I was looking at your schedule of the year, probably one of the strongest schedules in the CIF Southern section. You have your 5 losses. I think the teams average 3 losses apiece. Tell me how that's going to get you ready for this tough Foothill League competition.
Well, the reason why we did that is to get us ready for it, because we knew from top to bottom this is a tough league, and anybody can beat anybody on any given night. So we did that. We rose to the challenge in that, and hopefully, unfortunately for the first league game, it didn't get through, but we did compete because we were down 18 in the first quarter. And again, we had to lead with the ball with 3 minutes to go. So that helped us to compete there. And it was on their home floor. So again, it was a good team. Of course, they only lost 2 games.
You talked about how you were missing Therese Scott, your point guard, in that game against Saugus. How important now is this game tonight against the Hart Indians for Therese Scott?
It's important to him because he missed his first league game. But it's important to all of us, and again, we're a team. It's important to all of us because we don't want to go down 0-2. That's the main thing, first of all. But again, every game is important. It's not just one game.
And it just happens to be Hart Valencia, which is the intensity in itself. So, you know, what's the strategy tonight? I know they're kind of grinders, and you're kind of, I call you guys the greyhounds of the league. How's that you going to manage the game plan tonight?
We're going to try to do our thing. We're trying not to worry so much about them and let them worry about us. We'll try to play our game, and hopefully we're a little bit better than they, whether it's 1, 2, or 10.
Rocket, thank you very much. We appreciate your time, spending some time with us here in our pregame show, and good luck tonight, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We appreciate that. Game time right around the corner here on SCVTV, so make sure you keep it right here. The Hart Indians taking on the Valencia Vikings. We got the tip-off right after this. So it is a good crowd here at Valencia, and for those of you who are familiar with Valencia High School, you can look down onto that floor right now. You see the big Valencia Viking right there in the middle of the floor, and you're realizing, hey, this is a new floor. They've done some work during the off-season here at basketball, and there's a lot of people that truly like the way this floor is looking, and as they're calling it here, V-House.
V-House, and the floor is shiny and new, and really exciting for this great Foothill League season we're about embarking on right now.
Let's go ahead and
every game is going to be outrageously close.
We're going to go ahead and set the starting lineups now for the Hart Indians. Levi Wenrich has already come out. He's number 1 with his back there. That is Mike Montgomery, better than 20 points a game. Marcus Malosnik has also been announced. Brad Weiss, a 6-foot junior, better than 7.5 points a game. And Parker Dominguez, a 6'4 junior, who was here at Hart High School for his freshman year, then left, went to North Carolina, now is back with his brother Rendon. Rendon will be getting some playing time as well, but certainly Tom Kelly is very happy to have Parker Dominguez back into the lineup for the Hart Indians. For the Valencia Vikings, under co-head coaches Rocket Collins and Greg Hayes, they're 11-5 on overall, but 0-1 in league play, as we talked about, and that's Skylar Seymour. Seymour, a 6'6 senior, averaging nearly 11 points a game. This is the special young man right here, though, Therese Scott, his first ever league game. He is a senior, but he is a point guard, and for the first time in a long time, the Valencia Vikings do have a true point guard. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Brandon Thrush right there, 6'1 senior. He, too, averaging about 11 points a game. And here comes John Otavka. He wears 42. That's the exact number of three-pointers he has made this season, 42, and he leads the league in that. And here comes Jim Boffman, 6'6 senior, over 200 pounds is Boffman. And for Jim Boffman, 7.5 points a game, but he's also a force on defense, as we talked about, Greg Herrick, during our pregame, with the fact that Boffman has over nearly 3.5 blocks a game, and then also on the defensive side, better than 7.5 rebounds a game.
Yeah, he's an outstanding player for the Vikings. You know, if you're the opposition, you got to be account for him around the basket when you go and penetrate, because he's big and tall and gets up around the rim. He erases a lot of mistakes on defense, and that's what Rocket Collins likes about him.
We talked about Therese Scott and him being a point guard. He's pretty special here at Valencia.
Yeah, you know, Valencia has good size on their team, as they normally do, but they've never really had a distributor like Scott.
Boffman jumping with Montgomery, and that's going to be controlled by the Hart Indians. This is Levi Wenrich, a senior, getting it inside to Montgomery. 23 points in the last game, that game against Golden Valley. But this is Weiss, a three, no good. And Boffman gets his first rebound of the game.
And Weiss has been hurt, going through a little sprained ankle recently. He's back in the lineup tonight.
This is Therese Scott with the basketball. He's dishing it around to Thrush. Skylar Seymour to Boffman. Back outside to Thrush. No one on him. Thrush decides, hey, I better go for this. Blocked by Montgomery. Montgomery's another young man that knows how to get up into the air and get some block shots as well. And you talked about his wingspan, and that'll do it for you. And Parker Dominguez inside is going to get tripped up, and the foul is going to go against the Valencia Vikings, and specifically Brandon Thrush.
Well, there's not a part of the game that Michael Montgomery's not good at. You know, he's on defense, he's active. On offense, he can score, and he's a great leader on the floor, and he plays relaxed, which is what I like about him. It's like he's playing in the park.
The inbound goes to Brad Weiss, just a junior. Wenrich, Montgomery in the corner. He's got Therese Scott on him. He kicks it out. Weiss for three. He's got it. First points of this basketball game go to Brad Weiss, the three-pointer. He's 31% from behind the arc is Weiss.
Well, they're going to give him that wide open shot. He's going to take it every time, and he's very accurate.
Seymour and Boffman spending a lot of time outside. They will take those three-point shots.
This is not their forte, this half-court offense, pass the ball around. They're really not good at it, and haven't been for a few years. They like to play up and down and establish a faster tempo.
Boffman's turnaround obviously no good. Now we've got Wenrich coming down. He's going to get into the corner to Marcus Milosnik. He's a 4-year starter here for Tom Kelly. The Indians this year 15-3 overall, 1-0. Obviously in league play after that big win over Golden Valley. That's Seymour from the outside, no good. Montgomery pulls down another rebound.
See, I think the Vikings need to establish that inside game. You and I talked about that earlier. They need to get the ball inside around the rim.
Got to respect Montgomery from behind a three-point arc. The running left-hander, no good. Therese Scott gets the rebound. Down court to Brandon Thrush. He's going to get blocked. That was Michael Montgomery blocking that ball. An apparent easy layup, and then Thrush on the other side, reaching in, trying to knock that ball away from Levi Wenrich. And instead, Thrush is going to get called for the foul. And check that. That's actually going to go against Therese Scott, number 23 for the Valencia Vikings. He's the one that's going to get tabbed. That's his first personal.
Yeah, on that last play, you kind of like Michael Montgomery, the big star, racing down to erase that shot in transition. That's a great sign for him and for the Hart Indians.
And that ball last touched by one of the Indians. You talk about Michael Montgomery there. We're looking at Levi Wenrich. And the great story about Wenrich, how hard he works. Again, Tom Kelly telling me before the game he wasn't even a starter on the freshman team. And here he is, his second year of varsity, and he's the point guard for this squad. And that's a testament to how hard he works.
And you got to have a lot of courage to wear that number 1 on your jersey.
Boffman, that's a two-pointer for Boffman. It cuts the lead to 1 for the Indians, 3-2 with 5:25 to play in the first quarter.
And I think this pace right now favors Hart. It's slow and deliberate, and that's the way they like to play it.
Inside to Montgomery, the turnaround is good. Michael Montgomery averaging better than 20 points a game. He's 46% field goal shooter, and he puts it in. And the interesting thing is, basketball is not necessarily his best sport. This is John Otavka from the free throw line, cuts the lead again to 1.
It's starting to heat up a little bit.
Now we got Montgomery for 3 in the corner. And you start talking about heating up. Michael Montgomery can certainly do that. Down the court to Brandon Thrush, his drive off the glass, no good, but he is fouled in the act of shooting, so Brandon Thrush will be going to the line to shoot a pair. The foul is going to be against Mike Montgomery.
Well, I think an interesting sidelight here is they have Brandon Thrush guarding Michael Montgomery, and I just think he's too much for him to handle because he plays above, the rim, and Thrush is not a big player. So you're going to watch that matchup as the night progresses.
Thrush, 67% on the season. Nothing but net on the first one. Brandon Thrush, Skylar Seymour, and of course John Otavka, 3 players for the Valencia Vikings in double figures on average on the season so far. That's pretty impressive for the co-head coaches, Rocket Collins and Greg Hayes. We'll talk about that unique relationship as the lob goes into Montgomery, too hard off the glass, and Boffman has the ball stripped away by Parker Dominguez. Montgomery then tries to put it in. That's no good. The rebound comes down to Brandon Thrush.
That's what you call justice. I thought Montgomery had fouled Boffman when he was trying to control the basketball.
Great pass by Therese Scott into Skylar Seymour for 2. No, he missed it.
Yeah, there's a lot of nerves tonight in this game. Folks, this Hart-Valencia rivalry is something else in all sports.
8-5, Hart leading inside of 4 minutes to play in the first quarter. This is Wenridge, top of the key. He's got Therese Scott on him, driving in, kicking out. Brad Weiss. Now Montgomery, long 3 off the, nope, then he missed everything. Hits the baseline, and so that's going to be a turnover, and Valencia will take it over.
Yeah, that's a bad choice on Montgomery's part. He knows it. He realizes it. He's got his head down in the backcourt here, and he understands that his team needs him to take better shots than that, and he will as the game goes on.
The big fella, Eric Plumley, 6'2", 250 pounds. He's into the game now for the Hart Indians. Otavka high off the glass, too much. Tipped in by Skylar Seymour, though.
It's that size factor. The Vikings have 2 jumping jack inside players, Boffman and Seymour Skylar, and they're going to be around the rim if they choose to be.
And that's going to be traveling as the call against Levi Wenridge as he tried to do a spin move and drive in. Now coming in for the Valencia Vikings, Emmanuel Anumba is going to come in for Brandon Thrush.
And I think the pace is starting to heat up, and like I said in the beginning, that's going to favor the Vikings. They're better in transition where they can get players open.
Here's Boffman for 3. Nothing but net. And the Vikings take the lead for the first time in this basketball game.
Can't leave him open. He's a dead-eye free thrower, and he extends it out to the three-point line just as well.
He averages 7.5 a game. He's already got 5, does Jim Boffman. And look at, there's a block. 3.5 blocks. He's got 2 blocks in this game here in this first quarter. And Therese Scott trying to shoot it down to Emmanuel Anumba.
Wasn't ready for it.
Therese Scott, I mentioned it, this is his first Foothill League game. He was thrown out of the final non-league game, and CIF rules state that you have to then sit out the next game, so he missed the league opener against the Saugus Centurions.
I'd rather say ejected, but than thrown out, but that's okay.
All right, he was ejected. We'll give you that. So this is Scott bringing it down. 2:20 to play in the first quarter. The Vikings enjoying now that 2-point lead. Anumba dishing it outside. Otavka gets Chris Gill off his feet, and Otavka now with 4 points.
And
extends the lead to 4.
The Vikings have the Indians playing their pace.
The shot by Montgomery.
Quick shots, transition. That's not their style, and I think they're good. If I'm Tom Kelly, I want to take a timeout in this situation.
And that's exactly what Tom Kelly's going to do, and he's going to talk things over. And you bring up a good point, because the Valencia Vikings, in their, 13, 14 years that the school's been in existence, and this basketball team has always been a running team up and down the court, where the Hart Indians like to try to do their stuff and run their sets.
Well, I know Rocket Collins very well. We sit down and talk basketball in the offseason all the time. And my philosophy is always up tempo as fast as you can. We've shared thoughts about it. He likes to play that way, and I respect him. And they work at it in practice. In recent years, it's just a matter of they haven't had the right personnel in certain situations to run it effectively. And this year, he's very confident with Scott at the point guard, and they have a kid off the bench, Lonnie Jackson, who's a 9th grader, who's going to be excellent in the years to come. So he's very happy with where they're at right now, and And that's why he took on that schedule that he took on earlier in the year. The big competitor, his RPI is, his battle rating, as they call it, is very high because their schedule is tough. So that's going to be good for them in the league.
So the Vikings controlling the basketball. Otavka to Seymour. Seymour has Mike Montgomery on him. He dishes it off instead to Anumba for 2 points. Emmanuel Anumba, 6'2" junior. This is his second year, and Anumba's going to come up with a steal.
Montgomery wasn't looking.
Trying to get the ball to Otavka, and Otavka wisely able to control it. He's got 3 black shirts all around him. Dishes it off to Seymour, and that's good. And that timeout by Tom Kelly has been a good thing for the Valencia Vikings as they've extended their lead now to 8 points.
Well, tempo is a very interesting thing. You can establish it. You can get another team to play your tempo, especially with the crowd noise and the energy of the players. You can establish that. Valencia has done a good job of that.
Chris Gill driving in, but he's going to draw the foul instead, and he'll go to the line to shoot a pair. The foul is going to be against Emmanuel Anumba. It'll be his first personal foul for Anumba. And so Chris Gill will go to the line where he's shooting just 43%.
The Indians and the Vikings now are looking for matchups. You notice there's substitutions coming in and out. They're looking for matchups for size and quickness, and that will settle down as the game goes along, because they'll find out who can play who and who's better defending. This is the first time they've played each other this year, so there's a lot of feeling out to do here and find out who can guard who.
Lonnie Jackson, the freshman that we talked about, has checked into the game for the Valencia Vikings.
I really like him.
As Anumba Gill misses the second one. Also into the game for the Hart Indians is Rendon Dominguez, older brother of Parker. But that is Jackson right there. Gets it to Boffman for Valencia. Therese Scott, they're swinging it around. Now into the game for Valencia, David Stroud. This is Anumba. Here's Jackson. 10 seconds now on the shot clock. Therese Scott looking to drive in. He's surrounded by black shirts. Gets it off to Anumba instead, though, and he misses it. Rebound comes down to Dominguez. Quickly, the Indians going down. Chris Gill back out on top to Marcus Malaznik. To Gill. Gill driving in, trying to spin off of Boffman, and loose ball recovered by the Indians inside to Eric Plumlee, but they're going to say traveling against Eric Plumlee and the Hart Indians.
And there's that pace again. You see Hart playing at that up-tempo pace. They're not comfortable with it, not used to it, and the Vikings have the lead, a 7-point lead because of it.
So the final shot of the quarter. 10 seconds now on the clock.
My favorite thing.
Therese Scott trying to put it in between the legs, and then he gets another steal. He's going to go to the line and shoot for the 3-point play. 2 steals, 1 for each side. Therese Scott comes up with it, goes to the hole, and he's going to draw the foul, and perhaps he's going to get the 3-point play as well. Marcus Malaznik called for the foul, his first.
Well, a lot of times when you make the mistake of throwing the ball away, you end up trying to make a play, and you end up fouling somebody. Hart was out running again, and Valencia was able to steal the basketball.
And Scott misses. So that's going to be the end of the first quarter. It's been a good one for the Valencia Vikings, 18-9. The Vikings leading the Indians, Frontier Toyota's basketball series.
Selection
back at Valencia High School, Dave Caldwell and Greg Herrick. And I'm just going to tell the guys in the truck that we can hear. Now we go. There we go. Everything's good now. As we begin the second quarter, and the Vikings enjoying a 9-point lead, and they've got the basketball. This is John Otavka, senior, 3-year starter, swinging it around. This is going to be Lonnie Jackson for 3. The phenomenal freshman, Fab Frosch, if you want to call him.
He's, in a few years, you're going to be saying his name is synonymous with Valencia basketball. He's outstanding.
Levi Wenrich, that's a very long 2-pointer for Levi Wenrich, the Indians' second leading scorer, and a steal on the other side. The third turnover committed by the Indians. Chris Gill blocked by Jimmy Boffman, saved by Wenrich and Mike Montgomery. Montgomery puts it on the floor, running left-hander, no good. Montgomery is now 1 for 5, shooting 2-point shots on this season coming into the game, 57% field goal shooter.
Well, the Vikings have done a very good job of contesting him at every shot. So every shot he's taken has been tough. And that was one of the strategies I think they had to employ.
Boffman wide open from in front of the free throw line. He's now got 7 points, and it's a 12-point Viking lead.
Yeah, Boffman's a member of their volleyball team. He's being recruited by USC, UCLA, some of the other big-time volleyball programs, as you can see why.
Malaznik inside. That's a great pass to Mike Montgomery. He's going to draw the foul committed by Emmanuel Anumba, and so Mike Montgomery's going to go to the line for the three-point play.
Well, Anumba is overmatched when he's guarding Michael Montgomery. It's I think they need to change that, and they're doing it right now as I speak. Coaching is an interesting thing. We think on the same wavelength. He can't guard Michael Montgomery, and I think Rocket Collins realized that on that last play. It's matchups. You know, I talked about matchups. It's finding out who can guard who. And they're still doing that as we go into the second quarter here.
Mike Montgomery about to try to complete this three-point play on the season, 70% in and out. The basket's been tough. Both teams 1 for 3 from the free throw line.
Well, it's energy, and these kids are nervous.
This is Skylar Seymour. He's had a good first quarter. Drives in, blocked by Montgomery. That's, I believe, Michael Montgomery's second block of this game.
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of blocks in this game because both teams have a few shot blockers.
A few guys that can jump, very athletic. And you talked about, for Mike Montgomery, his reach. And as you pointed out very well in the pregame show, you look at a guy who's 6'5". It's not about the height to the head. It's about the wingspan. It's about the limbs.
Yeah, he's long, as we say in the trade, and he plays that way.
Malaznik along two, no good. Rebound coming down to Jackson. Jackson keeps the dribble alive, fires a pass down to Seymour, who then pulls it back out. This is Brandon Thrush tripping over his own feet, but unable to control the ball as Malaznik picked up by Seymour. He gets his own rebound. Check that. That is not Seymour. That was David Stroud with his first 2 points of the game.
Well, the Vikings are doing a very good job of holding off the Indians here.
Chris Gill for three. Back of the rim, no good. Rebound comes to Jackson. Jackson over to Thrush. Thrush drives in. Rebound by Skylar Seymour, no good. Chris Gill gets the defensive rebound.
Yeah, they gotta finish that off. I talked about Valencia finishing at the rim, and those are the kind of baskets they need to make if they're going to win this game.
5:15 to play in the first half. It's a 12-point lead, and another steal by the Vikings. That's 6 turnovers. Otavka's shot wide of the mark. Rebound comes down to Levi Wenrich.
And that was a bad shot selection by John Otavka. We talked about senior leadership and taking better shots, and he just came down and pulled it up.
Mike Montgomery, left-hander, no good. He is having a tough time of it here with the Valencia Hoops.
They're doing a good job of guarding him. There's always somebody in his face when he goes up for the shot.
Wenrich being guarded very well by Brandon Thrush. Now another three-pointer. That one's missed as well. He's 1 of 4 from the three-point range, 1 of 6 from the 2 points.
I think he might have lost his mind a little bit.
Jackson swinging it around. This is Otavka for 3. Count it.
See, that's when he's at his most effective, when he's squared up and there's not anybody around. He's deadly.
John Otavka buries the three-pointer. 4.5 minutes to play in the first half, and the Vikings now with a 15-point lead over the Hart Indians. And we're going to keep it right here, Greg, as if you're Tom Kelly, you want to be able to try to work your stuff, try to get your sets squared away, but this pace has been unbelievable for the Vikings, and they've been nailing what they need to hit.
Well, and the Hart Indians have to be more patient. They're playing at a tempo and a style that's really they're not accustomed to. And they need to understand that the game they're better off for them if it's a slow down game in the 50s. I talked about that earlier about how they have had 12 opponents. They've held 12 opponents to less than 54 points, which is very good defense. And at this rate, it looks like the Vikings are going to get out to score more than 54 points. And they don't want that kind of game because the Vikings they flourish when the game's high tempo and up tempo.
And we've got a bit of a scoreboard malfunctioning issue. One of the scoreboards, or two here, and it's just kind of flicking in and out. They're trying to get that situated and resolved. There's probably a short in one of the lines or something like that. But in the meantime,
there we go.
Mike Montgomery, I mentioned before that he was 1 of 6. He's actually 2 of 7 from 2-point range. He does have 7 points, but he is finding very difficult getting the ball through the cylinder here at Valencia.
Well, one of my notes on Valencia was tonight to locate him and have somebody in his face every time he catches the ball. And they've been very effective at that tonight. You notice Michael Montgomery's out of the game right now.
Catching a bit of a breather into the game for the Hart Indians. Ben Kimball, that shot by Brad Weiss, wide of the mark. The Vikings bringing it down. They're leading by 15. They got another chance to extend it. Here's Otavka off the front of the rim for 3. Rebound to Bothman, and he's got it.
See, it's not just the missed shot. It's the transition with players running down the lane following the missed shots. That's what transition's all about.
Bothman averages 7.5. He's got 9 already in this game when we're just inside of 4 minutes to play in the first half.
And the pace is up.
And is being played the way the Vikings, and specifically their co-head coaches, Rocket Collins and Greg Hayes, like to see their game being played. Jackson driving in, and he's going to draw the foul.
And they've got guards this year.
The Vikings.
The Vikings do that understand how to distribute. You know, John Otavka doesn't have to play point guard. In recent years, they've had conversions, we call them, kids they try to make into a point guard. You know, that's a skill that's developed over time, and they have a couple good point guards. Obviously, the 9th grader is going to be a great one, and they have Scott. So they're equipped at the point guard position to play a transition game, and that's maybe the first time in a long time.
Lonnie Jackson is 24 of 28 from the free throw line, 86%, and he's a perfect 2 for 2 tonight. That is phenomenal for a freshman playing at the varsity level to be able to play at that level.
He's played a lot of travel ball with some excellent players. You know, he had been rumored out of 8th grade was going to go out of the area to high school, but decided to stay home here at Valencia, play with his friends, and I think that's a good decision.
Into the basketball game now for the Indians, Adam Zadie as well. This is going to be Parker Dominguez. He's got Therese Scott all over him. This is Ben Kimball. His shot no good, and a whistle underneath. Struggling for the ball, and I believe this one's probably going to go against Valencia.
You know, Mark Sawyer, the official, is really good at waiting to see the result of the play before he blows the whistle. I always get on his case about that. You know, either it's a foul or it's not. It's not depending on whether the shot goes in, but he's well known for that.
There we had a shot of Mark Sawyer just a moment ago. The inbound goes to Parker Dominguez, too hard off the glass. Struggling for the ball. Rebound comes down to the Vikings. Olutokunbo Oshodi came down with the rebound.
And the Hart Indians are going to employ a press here to try to get the Vikings to turn the ball over.
Bothman's going to inbound the ball, swinging it all the way down to John Otavka. 3/4 of the court down, now to Lonnie Jackson. Watch out behind you. Nice decision. Otavka for 3.
Wow. I'm telling you, he's the best shooter when he's squared up and unguarded in the league.
He's made 42 coming into this game. Count 2 more tonight. He has 10 points. That Brad Weiss shot, that's no good. Rebound comes down to Oshodi. And the Vikings right now with a 22-point lead with 2:40 to play in the first half over the Hart Indians.
I bet you that's never happened.
Otavka, great pass underneath to Brandon Thrush.
The Indians just look overmatched right now. They look confused. Their best players on the bench. A couple of their starters are on the bench.
When was the last time you saw a Tom Kelly coach team with only 13 points so far in the first half?
No, that's not good. Even though they like it to be deliberate, they don't like it that deliberate.
Brad Weiss from the left elbow, blocked by Jackson. Ashodi tries to come up with the basketball, can't come up with it. Weiss does. The streaking Rendon Dominguez, and he's got 2 points. Back down the other side, trying to get it to Thrush, and Parker Dominguez right there. He's going to be called for the foul.
That was a foul of frustration. He came at him pretty hard on that drive, and you see that a lot of times in games like this. Kids are just really frustrated, and the Indians look. I haven't seen them this confused in a long time, and the coaching staff looks perplexed as well.
Thrush to shoot 2.
But the Vikings better make these foul shots because the Indians could explode at any minute, and they want to have a real comfortable lead.
So far, they're 50% as a team from the line, and they're actually doing much better than that on the season. Now make it 4 out of 7 as Emmanuel Anumba comes back into the game for the Valencia Vikings. Levi Wenrich also comes back in for the Indians, and he's the one who's got the basketball right here. Inside of 2 minutes to play in the first half, 23-point lead for Valencia, 38-15.
Well, a lot of this has to do with Michael Montgomery sitting on the bench. When you have 20 points a game sitting on the bench.
Rendon Dominguez for 3. That's going to help it out a little bit. He's a 30% shooter from behind the three-point arc, and he puts in another one. 6'4" senior. And now we have contact. And Rendon Dominguez immediately goes over to help Lonnie Jackson.
And kids are, good about that, but just as soon, just let his own teammates pick him up. I know it's a nice gesture by the young man, but a lot of times people get, it's a misconception of what he's actually over there to do, and you get somebody making a reaction to it. So I always tell our kids, leave them alone, and their teammates will help them up.
Corey Otavka is now going to come into the game. His first action here against the Hart Indians. Obviously Otavka, the younger brother of John Otavka for the Valencia Vikings. This is Jackson. Fell hard on that left shoulder. It seems to be okay. Here's Corey Otavka back outside to Jackson. 3 at top of the key.
Wow.
That's his second three-pointer of this game for Lonnie Jackson. He's now got 8 points.
And that schedule that the Vikings played in the preseason is looking pretty good right now, the way they're playing.
It's a 23-point lead for the Valencia Vikings, and Wenrich tries to make a throw over to Rendon Dominguez. Dominguez zigged, and Wenrich thought he was going to zag. Then the throw going into Michael Glotfelty.
I think they got bad combinations in here, the Indians do. The kids that never played together.
Otavka going to throw up a 3, and he's going to draw the foul.
See, that's not a sign of a Tom Kelly team. Fouling the jump shot is almost a mortal sin in basketball. It's a low percentage shot as it is, and you're just helping them out by fouling them. And that's just not the Tom Kelly's characteristics. And I tell you, these kids aren't playing. This isn't the Hart team we're normally used to seeing.
So Otavka fouled on the three-point shot, so he's going to get 3 shots. And now there's an issue with one of the referees. I think there's a towel, or maybe there's some moisture on the ground. It's Levon Zakarian, our referee. He's joined by Mark Sawyer. We talked about him, and that's exactly what Levon is doing, putting up a little bit of moisture where Otavka went down.
A little custodial science on the part of the official.
Very good, very good. With 51.5 seconds, 51.4 to be exact, and what an incredible, I am dumbfounded seeing 18 points on the board for the Hart Indians here in this first half. And this is a team, the Hart Indians, that on the season, Greg Herrick, they average nearly 60 points a game. You see Tom Kelly is hitting his hands right there.
Yeah, and I'm telling you this, they've given up 41 points. They're about to give up probably 3 more. They've held opponents to 54 points or less in 12 of their games. Valencia's already almost to 54 points in a half. And they accentuate defense on a regular basis year after year after year. That's why they're good. They're grinders. They get it done on defense. That's been absent tonight.
First one made. Again, I mentioned it during our pregame, but John Otavka now a perfect 20 of 20 from the line.
And he's too good for you to jinx him.
There's Otavka, the senior. Incredible shooter from outside, 5'10".
He's had an outstanding career at Valencia High.
He's now got 13 points in this game, and it's a 26-point lead.
I don't think they took out the ball there, Dave. I think he just took the ball out of the net and threw it in.
And that ball was knocked away. Yeah, Otavka reaching around Parker Dominguez to try to get a piece of that ball. And instead, he did get a piece of the ball and went out of bounds. So the Indians will inbound the basketball. This is Ben Kimball. A lot of Hart basketball fans know about Brandy Kimball, Brian Kimball. And that right there is Rendon Dominguez for the three-pointer, his second 3 of the game. The full court pass trying to get a home run in to Corey Otavka. That's not going to work. So the 4th turnover for the Valencia Vikings.
And that's what happens when you put in a player. Doesn't play very often. You know, I just am never comfortable. I don't care what the lead is in the first half. I play regular players at all times.
Shot clock is off. Rendon, look at this guy. Rendon Dominguez has nailed 3 threes here in this first half.
And it's Corey Otavka, that's given up the 3-point shot.
There's a travel.
See what I mean?
Yep.
You can't rest in basketball. Things happen too quickly. I mean, we were just talking about a 18-point, almost a 25-point deficit. Now they've hit 2 threes in a row. I'm not saying they're back in it, but they're headed in that direction.
6 seconds to play in the half. Levi Wenrich throws it up off the glass. Parker Dominguez puts it back to beat the buzzer, and then he comes up limping as he did so. I think he came down sideways on his ankle. It looks like he'll be okay. But what a great finish for the Indians. They were trailing by as much as 26. They go on a quick 8-0 run. Now they're trailing by 18. We got halftime. It's our Providence Holy Cross Medical Center halftime report. It's going to come up when we return. The Valencia Vikings 44, the Hart Indians 26 on the Frontier Toyota Basketball Series. Tonight's halftime show is being brought to you by Providence Holy Cross Medical Center, which has been recognized as being among the top 5% of all hospitals in the nation for overall clinical performance for the last 2 years. For more information on their award-winning healthcare, visit them on the web. Halftime here, 44-26. The Valencia Vikings leading it over the Hart Indians. And when you look at the stats, boy, are they glaring, Greg. I mean, for the Indians, 5 of 19 from 2-point range, 4 of 14 from behind the 3-point arc. The shots are just not going in.
No, and the shots from their top scorer, Michael Montgomery, have not been going in. And consequently, Coach Tom Kelly decided to put him on the bench to cool him off because he started to force his shots a little bit. So Valencia's done a good job of disrupting them offensively up to this point.
Yeah, Michael Montgomery 2 of 7 from 2-point range, 1 of 4 from 3-point range. On the other side of it, though, and actually let me just say this, the saving grace is Rendon Dominguez, 3 of 3 from behind the 3-point arc. But for the Valencia Vikings, 10 of 22 from 2-point range, 5 of 9 from 3-point range.
Well, they've been getting a lot of their 3-point shots in transition when they attack the basket and then they kick it back out for open shots. John Otavka, probably the premier 3-point shooter in the league, is getting wide open looks at it, and he's deadly with that. Plus, they had Jim Boffman hit a 3, so that they're on all cylinders at the 3-point line tonight, the Valencia Vikings.
And they're playing the pace of game that they like to play.
The pace of the game is way in their favor, and the Indians are falling right into that trap. They're trying to race it up themselves because you get a tendency to say we got to score quickly to get back in the game, and then that's just right up the alley of the Valencia Vikings. So they've got everything going their way right now, although those 2 3-pointers at the end of the half have made the statement that Hart's not going away very lightly.
John Otavka is the leading scorer for the Valencia Vikings. He's with 13 points, and as I said, Rendon Dominguez with 11. Tonight's halftime show was brought to you by Providence Holy Cross Medical Center, recognized as one of the top hospitals in the country. We'll be back with the third quarter, 44-26. The Vikings with the lead on Frontier Toyota's basketball series. Third quarter about to get underway here at Valencia High School. Greg Herrick, what does Tom Kelly need to do to get his team back into this game?
Well, they need to slow down the pace a little bit and get the Valencia Vikings out of this comfortable zone they're in and by running up and down the court. They need to be patient on offense and to get after it on defense like they're very capable of doing.
The Indians are in black, moving from our left to right. That's an inside pass to Montgomery. And that's what you need. You need Michael Montgomery to start getting red hot and erase the bad memory that was the first half.
And they're trying to kick the ball loose here by pressing the Vikings.
Rush inside Boffman, right-hander, and Boffman answers right back with what Mike Montgomery was able to do. And for Jim Boffman now, he has 11 points.
In years past, you could do that because the Vikings didn't have the guard play to negotiate any kind of press defense.
Great skip pass from Thrush into Skylar Seymour, 2 more points.
And the pace is up there to Valencia's liking. It hasn't slowed down 1 second.
And they're back up to a 20-point lead, are the Valencia Vikings, as we're now 7 minutes to play in the third quarter. Parker Dominguez, Levi Wenrich. Wenrich driving in, dishing it off to Dominguez. Cannot get the shot. He gets his own rebound. Left-hander can't get that. Another rebound. Otavka knocks the ball away and comes up with a loose ball. Nice pass from Otavka into Thrush. Back to Otavka. He's going to try a long 2.
Set shot, looking at it, deadly.
15 points for John Otavka. And it's back to a 22-point lead for the Vikings. Mike Montgomery high off the glass. He's 2 for 2 now in this second half. Down the court, Brandon Thrush, no-look bounce pass to Otavka, who was able to control the basketball. Up top, tip off. This is Therese Scott. He's going to try a three. Back of the rim, no good. And now there's a whistle underneath as they were battling for the basketball.
Yeah, Boffman has come out of the box pretty strong here with not only was he able to tip past that, but he scored a basket earlier. And I think he might be the key right here. Get him around the basket, get the ball up high where he can get it.
The inbound goes to Otavka, three. He's going to miss badly, but Jim Boffman comes up with the rebound. Kick out to Scott, swinging it around. This is Seymour driving the baseline, giving it off to Boffman. Back to Seymour. Drives, reverse layup, no good. Tip-in attempt by Boffman, no good. Mike Montgomery comes down with the rebound for the Indians.
They got to finish that. The Vikings got to finish around the rim. You're going to get a shot from 2 feet out. You got to make it.
50-30, the Vikings with the lead. 5.5 to play in the third quarter. Give and go. This is going to be Wenrich. And I believe Wenrich is going to be drawing the foul by Brandon Thrush. And so Levi Wenrich will be going to the line to shoot 2.
Interesting defensive change. The Vikings have taken Thrush off of Michael Montgomery and given him to Skylar Seymour, who's able to maybe contest a little at a higher level, being taller. And we'll see how that materializes the rest of the way.
Wenrich 70%, and that's pretty legit. 58 of 83. He's now 60 of 85 free throws on the season. Levi Wenrich.
Hart is generally very good at free throw shooting through the years. I remember they're always very good at making foul shots.
Chris Gill back into the game for the Hart Indians. That pass trying to get it to Thrush, and he saves it. Skylar Seymour keeps it alive, drives in, dishes off, knocked away, and that's going to be a turnover. Just the sixth turnover committed by the Vikings. And I think we're going to have a charge.
See, that's that pace. That's it. They don't like, and they're not comfortable racing the ball up the court.
Brad Weiss, his first personal, the second team foul committed by the Indians. Skylar Seymour is going to have a seat. David Stroud, 6'5" junior. He's got 2 points in the game so far. He averages 3 on the season. Comes back into the game for the Vikings. That's a three-pointer for Brandon Thrush. His first tray of the night, and it's up to a 21-point lead for the Vikings. Wenrich. Montgomery, top of the key. He's got Stroud on him. Montgomery's going to draw the foul. And so now Mike Montgomery's going to go to the line to shoot a pair.
And I kind of question the defensive situation by Valencia there. Why do you foul a guy who's out of control going to the basket and you just send him to the line? He's a great foul shooter. You're just giving him a free shot.
70% on the season. 0 for 1 though tonight. He makes the first one.
He's not going to be 0 for very long. He's too good of a player to be 0 for from the line.
He's averaging better than 20 points a game. He misses that one. 1 for 3 tonight as Thrush skies to get the rebound. Therese Scott very fast. He's also the strongest man on this team. Thrush from the corner again, can't get it. The rebound is going to come down to Levi Wenrich.
Boffman tried to make a great play there instead of just grabbing it out of the air.
Montgomery gets Boffman off his feet, dishes off to Malaznik, and that's good. Marcus Malaznik gets his first 2 points of this basketball game, cuts the lead back to 18. Thrush, Boffman, cross court, there's Otavka looking for 3, gets Montgomery off his feet, drains it.
Wow.
It's his third three-pointer of this game.
And he faked Montgomery right out of the building and stepped in and hit the 3.
Montgomery going to try his 3. Nothing but net.
Take that, he says.
15 points now for Montgomery. And there's a turnover. And that's the pressure that's forcing that turnover. Turnover number 7 committed by the Valencia Vikings.
Well, Therese Scott was doing a nice job. He just slipped on the floor. It wasn't really his fault. He slipped while he was throwing it.
And now the Vikings are going to call a timeout. with 3:53 to play in the third quarter, and they're leading by 18. I like this idea for a timeout here that Rocket Collins calls. Rocket Collins, by the way, as a co-head coach with Greg Hayes, we're going to explain this. Rocket pretty much handles the on-court operations, if you will. Greg Hayes is a great administrator, so that takes that away from Rocket focusing on the game.
Yeah, they work very well together, and they have Joe Robinson on their staff, and they do a real nice job of delegating responsibility to each individual coach, and that's really, and they've been together a long time. It's not something that just happened recently. They've done very good together. It's interesting. Greg Hayes will sit at one end side of the bench, and Rocket will sit at the other end. It's kind of an interesting combination.
It is very unique, to say the least. Some coaches would love it. That's a great pass from Wenrich into Mike Montgomery. 2 more points for Montgomery.
Yeah, they don't want him to start heating up.
He's got 17 right now. Cuts the lead to 16. Brandon Thrush blocked by Montgomery, and he comes up with the basketball. I believe that's block number 4 for Montgomery. He's going to take it the length of the court, and he's going to draw the foul, and Montgomery's going to go to the line for 2.
And see, he's starting to heat up here. If I'm Rocket Collins, I don't like what I'm seeing here. 16 points for a team of Hart's magnitude. It's got some three-point shooters and Michael Montgomery. I'm just not trusting that lead.
And he is not enjoying these rims here at Valencia is Mike Montgomery. There you see Tom Kelly, head coach for the Hart Indians.
Well, he's realizing, the tempo, actually the momentum starting to switch here in the favor of the Hart Indians, and you want to make sure you make right decisions when that's happening.
Wow. Montgomery's just going to be getting frustrated. He's 1 of 5 from free throw line. 1 of 5 for Mike Montgomery. He's a 70% shooter from behind the line.
See, the Vikings got to be very, very careful here and be selective on the shots they take. Not necessarily take a long time, but just be very selective.
Hoffman dishing off to Stroud. The reverse layup is good.
See, here come the Indians in transition.
18-point difference again for the Valencia Vikings. Montgomery's going to keep on firing. Short. Rebound comes down to Lonnie Jackson, the freshman for the Valencia Vikings. Inside of 3 minutes to play in the third.
He'll learn to race the ball as soon as he gets it. That time he took too long and threw the double team.
And that was a 10-second violation because of that.
See, he took too long with the ball in the backcourt. He could have raced it into the forecourt by himself. That's a 9th grade error.
And now another timeout called by the Valencia Vikings. Another 30-second timeout. It's an 18-point lead for Valencia. And I think, obviously, that Rocket Collins and Greg Hayes just trying to kind of turn this momentum. You can feel the momentum. Unfortunately, of course, Mike Montgomery missing those free throws, but still the momentum clearly on the shoulders of the Indians.
Yeah, and they got to, what we call it, we got to match them. If I'm in the huddle of the Vikings right now, it says we got to at least match them. We got to score when they score. Maybe we're not really interested in extending the lead per se, just as long as we converted our end when we get our chances. They're going to be better. They weren't that bad. As far as during the year, they're a great team. They're not going to have a half like that again. That's what I would tell our kids. So we've got to match them. And when they give us a free basket at the other end, we got to take advantage of it.
So the Indians will inbound the basketball. Wenrich swinging it around to Marcus Malosnik. Chris Gill now inside to Wenrich, who dishes off to Montgomery and has that ball knocked away. And now, what do we have? We have a whistle.
Montgomery got a tee. Technical foul on Michael Montgomery. He thought he got fouled on that block.
A second technical, and Montgomery's out of the game.
And that's frustration right there.
Yeah.
He's not having a game like he's accustomed to, and you got to get. It's funny. It's interesting. He's a fantastic pitcher. He's probably going to be drafted this spring in the Major League Draft. He's scheduled to go to Cal State Fullerton on a baseball scholarship. He's a great pitcher. He's always composed on the mound, which you got to be an effective pitcher. He ought to transfer that onto the basketball floor. And sometimes he lets his emotions get away from him.
Well, he mentioned this earlier this week that it is the basketball floor that allows him to let out his emotions because he has to keep it so controlled on the baseball diamond.
Right.
And so Otavka makes both of the free throws, obviously, and Jackson loses control of the dribble. We're going to have a jump ball situation, and possession arrow favors the Vikings. Look out now.
See, Michael Montgomery just took a little swing at Jackson in the pile there, which wasn't nobody really saw but me. And that's frustration, I'm telling you. And Jackson's got to learn. He's up here trying to put a dribble show on against a senior, and he's a freshman. That ain't gonna never happen. You know, give up the ball, orchestrate your offense, and don't spend time trying to show that you can dribble.
2:10 to play in the third quarter. Jackson loses control of it right there. Yep.
Yeah, that's a freshman mistake right there.
9 turnovers now for the Vikings compared to 7 for the Indians. Wenrich drives down, blocked by Stroud, and Stroud comes up with the basketball.
And the Vikings ought to go. They got Montgomery in the backcourt. He'd fallen down on that.
Otavka to Anumba inside Jackson. Stroud wide open off the front of the rim, no good. Rebound coming down to Rendon Dominguez.
They got to convert those. That's what the ones I was talking about.
A 20-point difference right now for the Vikings in favor. They've been in control of most of this game. We're about halfway through the first quarter, enjoying double-digit leads. Dominguez, first miss tonight from three-point range. The loose ball comes down to Otavka. And a whistle. And they're going to call a foul. And they're going to call this against Mike Montgomery.
Reaching out, foolish foul, trying to grab the guy as he's going by. Never going to get the ball in that situation. Now, Tom Kelly has to take him out because his emotions are just taking their toll.
And it's his third personal foul as well.
He's not being an effective teammate.
And we talked about how emotional this game is between the Indians and the Vikings, and Mike right there is showing a lot of that.
Right, and there's good emotion and there's bad emotion.
Seymour gets it across the 10-second line. Therese Scott has Chris Gill on him, top of the key.
A lot of standing. The Vikings are starting to stand.
That's going to play into the Indians' hand.
Right.
Otavka, Stroud, Therese Scott going to try a three.
He's had a nice game all around for the Vikings tonight, defending Wenrich and controlling this Viking offense.
For Therese Scott, his first 3 points of the game. Nice play down inside by Rendon Dominguez. He's now got 13 points. Full court pass. And they're going to call a foul on Marcus Malaznik.
See, the Indians have not solved the question of getting back in transition. They've given up the Vikings' long baseball pass down the court pretty much on every possession, especially on a missed basket.
Back over to Otavka, and we're going to have another whistle. And this one's going to go against the Vikings. And specifically David Stroud.
Well, like I said earlier, if you're the Vikings now, you just want to match them. You just want to keep this lead around 18, 20 points, and just in the fourth quarter, make sure you just don't let the Indians get out on any runs.
25 seconds to play in the third. It's a 19-point lead. I'm sorry, 21. We'll do the math. 21-point lead for the Vikings. Wenrich, Malaznik, easy right in front.
And you know the Indians aren't built for coming from behind. That's just not their style.
The Indians wanting double dribble. The Hart fans sitting behind us wanting double dribble. Instead, they're going to call a foul instead. And that's going to be against Levi Wenrich. And that's going to be his third personal foul, the team's fifth.
When people put on pressure like the Indians are trying to get back in the game, you got to punish them at the other end. The Vikings need to get the ball to the rim. Too much perimeter.
2 seconds. Skylar Seymour off the glass. How about that?
That's just what I'm talking about.
Skylar Seymour putting the exclamation mark down. 21-point lead for the Vikings. 8 more minutes of high school basketball to play here. Game 2 of the Foothill League season, and the Vikings enjoying that 21-point lead on the Frontier Toyota basketball series. Season where the Vikings enjoying that 21-point lead over the Hart Indians. The Indians 15-3 overall coming into this game. The Vikings 11-5, and of course the Indians 1-0 in league, and the Vikings 0-1. But the Vikings aren't playing like that right now. The Vikings are playing like they are completely in control of a very good basketball team.
Well, I think they've been lying in the weeds, playing really stiff competition in the preseason, playing them tough. I mean, they have a 2-point loss to an 11-6 Lancaster team. They have a 2-point loss to an 11-5 Wilson team. So they've been in some close games. For a basket here and there, they could have the same record as the Indians going into this game tonight.
But look at the free throws, 4 of 10 so far in this game. Levi Wenrich getting his second shot. He makes that one. 5 of 11, below 50%. And then plus the 2-point shooting has been a struggle as well at halftime. The stat 5 of 19 for the Hart Indians. So it's just been a struggle for them while the Vikings have been red hot. Look at that, David Stroud pumping it in right there from 15 feet out. He's got 6 points, and it's back to a 22-point lead for the Vikings.
Well, we're coming on weird territory here because the Indians have only given up 71 points. That's the most points they've ever given up, and it's been twice, to Oak Park and to Westlake earlier in the year. So Valencia is about to go over that and have the biggest prolific offensive night against the Indians during the whole season.
Mike Montgomery, his 4th personal foul.
He dragged him down, and then he puts his arms out like, "What are you talking about?" to the coach. He's just, hey, even the great players have bad nights.
And so Anumba will get to shoot 2. He's going to miss the first one, and then the Vikings will get the ball because they're going to call Montgomery on an intentional foul. And he makes the second one. And so now the Vikings, it's very similar to a technical. Now I mentioned that Mike had a technical early in the game, but that is not a technical.
That's his 4th personal, however.
It is, so he is on the bench here as we are just starting the 4th quarter. And when you have the league's leading scorer on the bench and you're trailing by 23, it's a tough night. Now you're trailing by 25, Skylar Seymour, and that's exactly the way the Valencia Vikings like to run the floor. Seymour now with 10 points. Wenrich for 3, back of the rim, no good, and we have a whistle away from the ball.
See, it's starting to get nasty as rivalry games do. I mean, when you're unaccustomed to getting thrashed this badly, you have a sense of frustration, and especially when it's your vaunted enemy is doing it to you. Sometimes you get, a little, how should I say, uneasy.
Well, you saw Parker Dominguez there a moment ago. He got called for his 3rd personal foul. It is the team's 7th. And so that is why Emmanuel Anumba is going to the line for the 1-and-1. Misses. Boy, the free throw shooting tonight has not been very good for both sides.
No.
With the one exception being John Otavka, who came in a perfect 19-19 on the season. He is 5 for 5 tonight from the free throw line. That's amazing.
And you notice most of the starters for Valencia are still in the game.
Loznick's, his shot does not go. Struggle. Rendon Dominguez scrambling with Emmanuel Anumba, yeah.
Isn't that interesting how he knocked him out of bounds, gave him a little shiver on the hip, and then he looks to the referee, Mark Sawyer, and says, "What do you mean? What are you talking about? I didn't touch him." That always cracks me as an opposing coach when somebody does that to one of my players. They walk by and go, you can't even sell that to anybody. You shivered him out of bounds and you want to know why you're calling a foul.
Anumba makes the front end of this 1-and-1.
And right now, this match is the most points the Indians have given up in a game this year.
Obviously, that eclipses it. So this is the toughest night of the season.
6 minutes and 40 seconds. There's going to be a lot more points.
Wenrich going to try a 3, front of the rim, no good. Chris Gill, though, comes up with the offensive rebound, and as he was stumbling, trying to get the ball over to Rendon Dominguez, and throws it away. That's not necessarily a mistake by Chris Gill. He was stumbling and needed to get the ball to somebody and trying to throw behind himself.
Yeah, I would tell the player, stay on your feet. keep your balance.
Skylar Seymour trying to dish it off, and instead it's going to be knocked away. Turnover number 10.
Sometimes he thinks he's a point guard, and that would be a mistake.
Dominguez for 3. That's Rendon Dominguez. His brother Parker comes up with a loose basketball, though. Wenrich has the ball knocked away from behind by Thrush. But it was last touched by the Vikings. That's a nice heads-up play by Brandon Thrush.
I don't know why they got a reset on the shot clock. There was no possession by Valencia there.
No, I don't think it was reset.
Okay.
Turnaround, that's Levi Wenrich. Wenrich with 7 points here in this game. Cuts the lead to 25 for the Vikings, but right back down the other side, and look out, as Parker Dominguez taking a shot at Skylar Seymour.
See, and then here we got the little...
And now we got a couple of guys trying to get the backs of everybody else. There you see Parker Dominguez. He's a pretty fiery guy anyway.
He's got to be ejected. He's got to be ejected for that.
And so I don't know if he's being ejected necessarily by...
You know, it was kind of embarrassing.
How about that, Bobby Crawford?
There you go.
He's 3 for 3 now on the season from the free throw line. Thrush driving in. And unfortunately,
you know, it was kind of embarrassing.
How about that, Bobby Crawford?
There you go.
He's 3 for 3 now on the season from the free throw line. Thrush driving in. And unfortunately, that's going to be a technical.
Goaltending.
Oh, goaltending, excuse me. They're going to go ahead and count. Oh, boy, that's crazy. From my angle, I could clearly see that ball was not going to go in.
And yeah.
But when you put the ball against the glass.
Right. That's right.
So count the bucket. It's now 81 on the scoreboard for the Valencia Vikings. And Thrush, he's 2 for 4 from the line tonight.
You know, you got to give the Viking defense credit tonight. You know, holding the Indians to 50 points or so, whatever they're going to end up with tonight. Their starters holding them under 50. So their defensive effort was great.
The shot from Bromley, a little off the mark. Rebound coming down to Anumba. Emmanuel Anumba swings the ball around. This is Glotfelty. Spallone. Spallone drives in, dishes it off instead to Ashodi. Ball is knocked away, but last touch by the Hart Indians.
I don't know how that wasn't a foul. I mean, that was pretty aggressive defense there.
At one point, if you're the referees, do you decide to let some of it go?
Maybe.
Knocked away. That's a nice play. Almost as the ball was knocked away by Cody Cox. Ashodi trying to dunk. He's a little far away from the basket, young man. Next time, get about 3 feet closer.
Yeah, or be Dominique Wilkins.
And losing control of the basketball was A.J. Bromley. Down court. This is Spallone. He's going to miss everything. Now he's going to hear it from the Hart faithful.
He'll probably hear it from his teammates, too, a little later tonight.
Yeah, they're over there giggling already over on the bench. Yeah. They know. Bobby Crawford, top of the key. Gets it over to Zadie. Bromley, he's going to try another 3, front of the rim again. Rebound coming down to Glotfelty. Minute 20 now to play in the basketball game. Glotfelty was going back, and he was left alone, decided, hey, I think I better go back in.
I'm jacking it up if I'm him.
Ashodi drives in, and this one's going to go against Ashodi. Charging is the call.
I got to like this group of Valencia Vikings on the floor right now. They're taking it at the bat. They want a piece of the action. They want a piece of this victory.
Well, like you said, when you don't get your opportunities to play in a big rivalry game, this is your big moment.
Right. And they'll talk about this game for years.
Bobby Crawford for 3. He's got it. Crawford with 6 points in this game as we're inside of a minute to play.
He's asking Tom Kelly, why don't I play more?
And I think he's proven his point right now. Anumba, too hard off the glass. Quickly going down court are the Indians. Dishing it off to Kimball, off the glass, no good. Rebound coming down to Corey Otavka for the Valencia Vikings. Spallone, Glotfelty, 3. Another crowd favorite, obviously, is Michael Glotfelty, a 5'10 junior.
If he's 5'10", I'm 7 feet. He's not 5'10", but I'll give it tonight. He's every bit of 5'10".
Absolutely. So with 14 seconds to play, Crawford shot wide of the mark. Rebound coming down to the Indians and then being thrown, by the Vikings, then thrown away.
Shoot it up, Bobby Crawford.
We've got 3 seconds. Driving in, high off the glass. Count it. That was Adam Zadie getting his name in the books. But that's going to be the end of the ball game. 82-55. The Vikings with the win over the Hart Indians. We'll take a break. When we return our post game, we'll try to get a word in with some of the coaches, and we'll give you our comfort control player of the game. 82-55 the final. The Valencia Vikings winning over the Hart Indians on Frontier Toyota's basketball series. Well, here we are, post-game, 82-55. The Valencia Vikings winning it over the Hart Indians. Tom Kelly, for the head coach for the Hart Indians. What do you have to say about after a game like this?
It's thoroughly embarrassing. Not the score, the character of the kids out there. Acting like a bunch of third graders, picking up technical fouls, intentional fouls. I'd be embarrassed to wear a Hart jersey today. That's not what Hart basketball is all about. That's embarrassing. I don't care about the score. That's irrelevant.
Okay, let's get to the game. What did they do offensively that gave you guys so much trouble? You guys have given up 54 points or less in most of your games. They come up and bust 82 on it. What happened tonight?
They came in and attacked the basket, and we lived on the perimeter. It's like we got socked in the mouth, and we didn't keep playing. We felt sorry for ourselves. We played like a bunch of babies tonight.
Was the pace a little bit faster than you wanted it to be? Or?
No, the pace is fine, but when you make shot after shot, the basket gets bigger and bigger. You know that. But the Hart Indians didn't respond when they got socked.
We talked all game long, Tom, about how emotional games like this are and the rivalry between the Hart Indians and the Valencia Vikings. How do you address the team after that, after the comments that you just gave us?
Well, they better step up and play, or they're going to get their butts kicked Tuesday versus Canyon. And there's no easy road in this league.
Yeah.
Now, how do you address the behavior issues tomorrow? When you go to practice tomorrow, how do you address that as a coach?
We go back, we watch the film, and point out how immature and uncharacteristic we are, and then make some changes. And if we sit some guys or kick some guys off the team, that's the way it is. That's embarrassing.
Yeah. Tom, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Class character all the way. We appreciate that. We're going to try to see if we can get a word in with Rocket Collins as well. But, I mean, I agree with what Tom had to say, because what a tough night to have to go through and something to have to endure. And when you're the leader of this team, to see that kind of character displayed, that is not at all what Tom Kelly is about.
Well, you compound the problem. You play poorly. You don't play your rival very, intelligently at all. I think the pace was way too high for them, regardless of what he said. And then you compound it by acting foolishly and intentionally fouls and technical. It's just it's a bad night for the Hart Indians, right. And they need to change that if they're going to compete for the championship.
We have our comfort control player of the game that we need to choose from. We've got several to choose from. I mean, Corey, you got to look at John Otavka. You can also look at Jimmy Boffman, what he did defensively tonight. Several blocks. We don't have the exact count, but I'm guessing 7 or 8 blocks that Jimmy Boffman had. But the way Otavka was able to drain those threes in the first half, that really set the tone for the Valencia Vikings, and I believe gave them a lot more confidence to play a more aggressive game tonight against the Indians.
Yeah, and I think his leadership was just as important as the points he scored. He was an emotional leader of this team. He was encouraging teammates. When they made a three-pointer, you see him go over and give them 5. So I think John Otavka was probably the instrumental tonight in, his three-pointer set the stage, because it allowed the big kids, the Seymours, the Boffmans, to just have their way around the basket, because the Indians were hustling to stop the three-pointer.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but as you said in our pregame, for John Otavka to have success, he needs to get good three-point shots, not just throw up prayers. And tonight, I think he definitely did that. He had good shots, good looks, good opportunities, and he made them count.
Yeah, his shot selection was excellent. I think there was maybe one forced shot of his, and he came back the next time and didn't force it. I just thought he played a great game as a senior leader of this team.
Well, I don't think we're going to get a chance to talk with Rocket Collins. We certainly wanted to get an opportunity. I'm looking around to see if I can see him, but I don't see him here right now. So I think for the most part, we're going to have to say that's going to do it for us tonight. Your final comments on what you saw tonight?
Well, I think we're going to see this a lot. I mean, we're going to go into a game thinking somebody's going to win. I mean, if I'm Saugus High School with the with the record that they have, I'd be afraid of any of these teams in the league tonight. You never know who's going to come and play.
And we are getting Rocket. Come on over here, Rocket Collins, and stand between us. An impressive win tonight. You put up 82 on a team that previously had only allowed as high as 71. What happened? How did you do this tonight?
Fortune. We ran.
Not that easy.
No, it's not easy. And in my mind, we haven't done anything yet. It's just one more game, and a lot of people are real hyped about it. We have 9 more games to play, and we just ran a little bit today.
Well, you said before the game, it's just another game. You didn't want to be 0-2, but it's just every game's going to be important in this league with that top to bottom, everybody being good. And your kids just responded. I mean, your transition game, I think Therese Scott is the guy who handles this for you, and that's the difference in the team tonight that I saw that I've seen in years past.
And that's a very big difference. And again, I wish we had him last year. I think we would have been maybe 2 or 3 games better. Not 5, but maybe 2 or 3 because he could go strong. He's our 3rd leading rebounder. A lot of people don't know that. Not that he rebounded well at night, but he still pushed the ball up the floor. And in reality, they don't push it up like I really like to see them push it up there. So.
You sounded like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you two are brothers in that.
Yeah.
I know how that goes.
I would love to coach with this guy.
Now listen to me. Your game tonight was good on just about every end of the floor. We had you down about 10 of 22 shooting in the first half, 5 of 10 from behind the three-point arc. Otavka was hot shooting threes. Jimmy Boffman was strong defensively. You just had a great game. Emotionally, how did that play into this game tonight against the Indians?
Well, I told him before the game we played 2 or 3 other games that I told you guys. We played Nogales, who was 12-3, or 14-3, and someone else who was 12-3. Yeah. And we played El Toro, who was 8-1. I mean, we played all these tough teams.
I believe they're 12-1.
Right. And so we can play teams that haven't lost very many, and we've been in every game except for 1. So we just need to go out there and play like we can play. And again, we did that. They came out hyped and ready to play today. Now,
the game was marred by some, behavior at the end of the game, frustration. I'm sure you've seen that. How did you keep your kids away from that, getting involved in that?
To be honest with you, I think we learned from the Serrano because they did the same thing, and we kind of reacted a little bit differently, and that's how we lost Torres. And he didn't do anything really but just try to get somebody off of somebody. I think we learned from that, and we've talked about that and I talked about it might get a little rough today. I didn't think it'd be like that, but I thought because they play hard.
It's hard for Valencia.
Yeah. And Hart plays hard. They do. And not that they play dirty or anything like that. They play hard. And so be prepared and play through.
Yeah, I like the way your kids responded. When you got the big 20-point lead, it'd be easy to stop playing, but your kids didn't stop playing. And was it the 18-point deficit the other night that you came back and showed, hey, look, another team could do it to us like we did it to the other night?
That was one because they had an 8-0 run in the last 50 seconds of the first half, and we need to win every quarter. We have to win every quarter with these guys. We can't let them have the momentum because they're too good. They're too good.
Right. Rocket, thank you very much. Congratulations, a big win, your first win of the 2008 league season. It was a great job for your team. Congratulations. You bet. All right. Well, we are going to finish things up then. I know you got your final comments in, but it was a phenomenal game for the Valencia Vikings to put 82 points up against this Hart Indians team, a team that plays and prides itself on great defense.
Well, that's the best I've seen them play. I've been following Valencia High since its inception. I could say, and I've seen a lot of games, and I've seen them with you, this is probably as fine a game offensively and defensively I think that they played. And if they're going to play this way, they're going to be very formidable, not only in the league, but down the stretch in the playoffs.
Well, that's going to do it for us tonight here from Valencia High School. Again, the final score, 82-55. The Valencia Vikings defeating the Hart Indians. Valencia improves to 1-1 in league, while the Hart Indians drop to 1-1. For Greg Herrick and our entire crew, I'm Dave Caldwell. Thanks for being here, everyone. We will see you again next time.